Hi, everybody. If you missed class or if you haven't been here for the reading or you just want to hear it again to help you with your notes, this is Science Spin Slimed. When seaweed grows out of control, beaches can end up covered in green goop. Dun, dun, dun. So I feel like a news reporter. Anyway, so we're going to continue reading this. Take notes as you see. You can pause this if you want to write something down that I say. If you hear any weird noise, you know who it is. She has been a very naughty girl today. So let me just pause this and get to the next page. Okay, here we go. Covered in goop. Why are some beaches in China swamped with seaweed? Last summer, visitors to the beach of China were met with slimy surprise. A thick mat of seaweed, a type of algae, covered the water and the shore. But beachgoers didn't let the mess spoil their day. Many still went for a dip, even though they had to wade through what looked like stringy green hair. The source of all the seaweed was huge algae bloom in the Yellow Sea. The algae bloom was so large you could see it from space, says Steve Morton. He's a scientist who studies Earth's oceans. Algae blooms, like the one in China, can happen at in any body of water. They usually occur during spring and summer when the water is warmest. Most algae blooms result from human activities that add pollution to the environment. River runoff. As the rivers wind their way across the land, they pick up pollution from cities, suburbs, and farms. Sewage from water treatment plants and homes can flow into the waterways. Remember, we said sewage is, human waste. Rain can also wash fertilizer added to the soil to help crops grow and animal droppings from farms into rivers. These wastes contain nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus. Rivers carry these nutrients to the sea where they help algae grow. The buildup of nutrients can lead to an algae bloom. Now remember what we said over here was that fertilizer is made out of cow poop and other things, other broken down things, dead plants, dead wood, all that stuff makes for great fertilizer, plus the cow poop. All right, so let me continue. I'm just going to read these next two little lines. Dead in the water. Algae blooms can do more than make a yucky, slippery mess. A large algae bloom can block sunlight from reaching the waters below. Without light, tiny sea creatures and plants begin to die. The fish and other animals that eat these organisms have to find food elsewhere or risk dying too. Eventually, when the algae die, the rotting seaweed sinks to the seafloor where bacteria feast on it. The hungry bacteria uses up oxygen as they grow and multiply. They suck all the oxygen from the water, says Morton. Remember, we talked about this in class. Everything on Earth needs oxygen in some way. So they get their oxygen from the water, but these bacteria are taking it. Animals need oxygen to breathe. When there isn't enough, fish and other large ocean animals flee to avoid suffocating. And we've talked about the word flee before, and that means to run away, go away. Slower moving creatures like crabs and starfish can escape and die. Soon, nothing living remains. The area is now a dead zone. And so you can see all these people up here and read these captions in your article, which you have. All right, fighting back. Dead zones and algae blooms that cause them are on the rise. The bloom of China's coast, for example, has appeared every summer since 2007. When last year's bloom happened in China, people fought back. About 3,000 volunteers pitched in to clear the seaweed off the beaches with shovels and bulldozers. Ships even helped capture the algae in giant nets. People piled the seaweed into trucks and hauled it away. But not to the dump. The seaweed was taken to special centers and processed into useful materials. Because the seaweed is loaded with nutrients, of course, of its own, some was made into animal feed or added to human food to give it more vitamins. But most of the seaweed was turned into fertilizer. What goes around comes around. And then here's that words to know, the bank that we talked about. And it says algae plant-like organisms such as seaweed that live in the water, algae blooms, a large growth of algae, nutrients, substances that organisms need to live and grow, just like you and I do. That's why we take vitamins and eat healthy. Bacteria, single-celled microscopic organism. Dead zone, an area in a body of water that lacks oxygen and can't support life. All right, and I'm just going to go to the final page. And this is just a diagram of the pollution problem. So most algae blooms are the result of pollution entering waterways. Waste from cities, suburbs, and farms flow into the rivers and are carried into the oceans. Some of these wastes contain nutrients that can cause algae to grow out of control. Just like we talked about in class, that we use the fertilizer to help plants grow in our gardens and farms, but it also helps the algae grow. Okay, so right here, one, sewage and water treatment plants and homes flows into rivers. So some of that sewage, when it rains, doesn't get into the plants and it goes into rivers. Rain washes fertilizer and animal droppings from farms into rivers. And we've talked about that with storm drains right there. Number 3, so there goes their waste and their fertilizer. Number 3 right here, rivers carry these wastes which contain nutrients to the sea. So this stuff flows down because of the rain. It comes down to 3, so it's going into the rivers. Let's see. And then finally, number 5, bacteria use up the oxygen in the water as they eat dying algae. This creates a dead zone where no ocean life can survive. So this is a dead zone. And then here's a quick quiz. And if you fill it out in your own article that you have, you've got it right here. If you fill it out and send me a picture of it, then I will give you full extra credit. Okay, so this is extra credit. See how we do. But it says use the information from the article you just read about algae blooms and the diagram above to answer the following questions. And we'll talk about these questions in class. Anyway, thanks a lot. And I hope you enjoyed reading about this algae. Bye.